But Brandon, let's move on. The next team we are looking at is the Cal Golden Bears. This is a team that last year finished 2-7 overall. However, they finished 5-7 overall, 2-7 in conference, which was 2 wins better than the Oregon State Beavers did in the Pac-12. First thing I want to ask about this team, and I know if you guys watch the previews, you're like, whoa, Ricky usually doesn't ask about this first because he's an offensive-minded guy and usually doesn't really think about defense. I'm usually thinking about the offenses, but the defense for Cal wasn't too good last year. They were the 7th-ranked Pac-12 defense in scoring last year and allowed 28.4 points per game last season. Yes, that was an improvement from 42 points the year before, but does this Cal defense get even better this year at defense? And does that number go down to more of a number that fans will want to see this year?
Well, I think that you're going to look at this secondary being really good because last season they had guys like Cam Bynum and Elijah Hicks who came out and they did not play like freshmen. They completely came out and played up to a level that they needed to play at, and that's exactly what they did. So look for them to be really exciting this season, and then also look for them to have a pass rush. They should definitely be able to have a pass rush this season, and Alex Funchess is hopefully going to be the guy who's going to do that. This is a team that could continue to see its defense get better as the years go on, and they made a huge improvement last year from what they were the year before. I think that they could make another jump this season, maybe not as dramatic as it was, but they also, in 2016, to jump from 42 to 28, that's a dramatic jump. I don't think we're going to see them jump from 28 to 12.
Or to 14.
But, I think that certainly they will improve, and we could see that go from maybe 28 to 20, 22, 23, which would still be great for them.
And I mean, you mentioned the secondary. I'm going to bring up for this defense the front seven, where that's the big question mark for me, because I've got a quote here from defensive coordinator Tim DeRuyter that basically says, can we hold up front with a bunch of guys who don't have a lot of playing time? That's one of the questions we have to face, where basically he's talking about this program losing losing a lot of players up front, major players in their front seven. And this is a team where, kind of like you, where, even if they're at the 28.4 points per game again this year, I look at their schedule and I'm like, you know what? I could see maybe the same thing. I could see them going 3-0 in non-conference again. I could see them beating the Beavers just like they did last year. My only question is how many other wins can they get on the schedule? Because last year, the Washington State one, it was at home, so you had that going for you. This time it's going to be on the road at Washington State. And that one was a weird game for me because I didn't expect Cal that week to beat them 37-3, especially with the Cougar team that we saw last year. But can you get a win, for me, more importantly, either against the Washington State or against the team from the north, UCLA? We don't know. We have questions about Chip Kelly in his first year. We know what we've seen from Chip Kelly, but this will be the first year of him at UCLA. That one's at home. What are you going to do against the Kevin Sumlin team in Arizona? And then you end the season with Colorado. I know Colorado beat you last year, but can you flip that table and win and beat the Buffaloes in 2018 like you couldn't do in 2017? Those are the questions I'm looking at coming into this year.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks on the schedule, and it's not one of those schedules where you look at it and you go, man, it's not like when we looked at it for the Beavers and we said, okay, this is going to be tough, and most likely you are not going to win. There's a lot of those toss-up type of games because you're not exactly sure what you're going to get, because they are a lot of first-year head coaches, and there are a lot of changing schemes and changing philosophies, And we're going to see where these teams are at that point in the season.
I mean, Oregon's one of them too. I mean, I'll throw them out there. We'll talk about them a little bit later, but they're also a team that has a new head coach. Like, if we put last week and this week together, already up to this point, this segment, we've talked about Arizona, UCLA, ASU. We've talked about Oregon State, who had a first-year head coach, and then yet again a new head coach for Oregon. That's already going to be 5 teams in this conference that are all changing their coaches from last year to this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's... And I don't want to say that, because there's a new head coach, that there's automatically a question mark, but how are the players going to respond? Just like when we talked about UCLA. Yeah. How are the players going to respond to Chip Kelly's up-tempo, fast offense, and plus, move it?
And plus, Chip Kelly doesn't have Josh Rosen. He tried to get him to stay, but he doesn't. If he had Josh Rosen, that would be a different story.
Bringing it back to the Golden Bears. I want to say the Cal Golden Grams. The Golden Grams are better.
You're just hungry.
But I'm actually not, but they sound really good. You look at somebody who did an excellent job for them last year and someone that they're hoping will be able to build on what they did last season, and that is Patrick Laird. Okay. He was an outstanding surprise for them with going over 1,100 yards on the ground, adding over 300 yards through the air, 9 total touchdowns. Somebody that they want to continue to have build off of what they did and continue to add on yards and touchdowns to that and be a very solid, consistent scorer for them.
And I mean, with him, he's one of those stories kind of like I think of Baker Mayfield in a way where I know people are going to go, Ricky, what are you talking about? But like that former walk-on who has done great things and like last year rushed for over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns for this Cal team. And that's another thing that I think of with this offense is basically what's going to happen. I look at the quarterback position because you've got last year's starter in now junior quarterback Ross Bowers, who threw for over 3,000 yards. He had 18 touchdowns last year. But now they also bring in a transfer from South Carolina in Brandon McElwain. Who's going to win this job? Like, if I was coming in and the transfer didn't happen, all right, Bowers is our guy. However, it's like, all right, we've got McElwain now. This is kind of a little bit of a competition. And it really decides of what do you want to go with? The guy you know from last year with a coach at Cal that is entering his second year with the Golden Bears? Or do you say, you know what? What Brandon gives us with his legs and his rushing ability and maybe a chance to extend the play with his legs most times, is that going to be too good to pass up? And does he win the job for this Cal team?
See, that's going to be a tough one. It always is in the quarterback battles. I mean, you still look at the Alabama quarterback battle, and people thought that they had it all figured out. And Saban saying, "Hey, don't be assuming you know who it is, one or the other. There is no one that we've predicted yet." So that's how a lot of these battles are, where it's not predicted. It's not as clear cut and dry and so simple as we make it out to be, or as the media makes it out to be. It's not, and it's what's going to fit better with your offense. That's going to be the number one thing. And then you look at the wide receivers, who are they going to have a better rapport with? You have Demetrius Robertson, freshman All-American in 2016, who played just 2 games last season, had a sports hernia. Then you have Kanawi Noah and Vic Wharton, who return. They combined for 123 catches and 9 TDs a year ago. So this is an offense that's got things in place. They have things together. They have a good running back who can run the football well and score that way. They've got a same running back, who can catch passes and score that way. They've got really good wide receiver threats. If healthy, they have very solid threats at wide receiver. Quarterback, it's all going to come down to who are they more comfortable with? Are they willing to have as the offense fit for the dual threat man, or is it more stand in the pocket, look around, make your throws that way, not going to scramble too much? It comes down to the system who fits the system better.
And I would go with Bowers. That's who I would go with. And the reason why has nothing to do with what you just mentioned, the pocket passer compared to the dual threat. It has everything to do with Bowers knows this team. Like you had mentioned before, he's going to have the rapport with the receivers. He's going to have the rapport with the running backs. He knows this offense. And how I kind of look at it is, I mean, the thing that kind of sucks for McElwain is he's a sophomore. Bowers is a junior. So Bowers, unless he leaves, will be back next year for a senior year. McElwain may only get 1 year maybe to have this starting job, because I found an article from the San Francisco Chronicle that basically the headline of it was that Bowers pretty much has the job. Like, they haven't named the starter, but it would be a shock if he wasn't. And a quote from Justin Wilcox about him in his first day at practice when they had it was, he said, and I quote, "For him," and this is Bowers, "for him, he was okay today. We expect him to play better and better, and I think he'll take all of this and grow from it," end quote. And I mean, I think that would be the smarter decision. Go with the guy you already know. Go with the guy who did well for you last year in a new system last year, and now he's, to me, I would assume, is just going to get better being in year 2 of this system, where basically McElwain's coming in and having to learn this system much like Bowers had to do last year.
No, I think you're absolutely right, and it is so important though of going with whatever quarterback you go with. I think it's so important that you have to try and stick with them.
You don't change it after 2 games.
Exactly. That's why I think it's important. It's important for rhythm of that quarterback and of the other quarterback, the starter and the non-starter, and for that offense.
Or don't get me started on the, well, we're going to throw, I get most games are cupcakes week 1, but I hate the whole, well, we're going to throw both of them out there. One's going to have the first half, one's going to have the second half. Just pick one. Just pick one. Like, come on. Like, what does that do to your offense? Well, still, we don't know which one to get comfortable with because you haven't made a damn decision. Make a damn decision before game 1. Don't even get me started on having them both play week 1, which I don't think Cal will do their first game against North Carolina.
I don't either. I think that I think you're right though. It really is one of those things where the let's have 2 quarterbacks play, that's also hokey, and it just it barely works in my opinion. But this is a team that you'd like to think will rebound from last season, maybe even take a step forward in terms of up the ladder, being able to have a better finishing spot than they were last season in the conference.
And the thing that you got to know about head coach Justin Wilcox is that he's a bit of a perfectionist. And another quote I have from him, this is from Athlon Sports, it says, and I quote, "It's not good enough. We can say we have all these returnees, but we were 5-7. Every one of us has got to show improvement." This is the last thing I'm going to ask you for this team before we move on into the Oregon Ducks, Brandon. This team was 5-7 last year. Does this Cal team have enough to improve their record? And do you see them improving their record and becoming bowl eligible in 2018?
Well, looking here at the schedule, 3 wins. We got 4 wins.
Who's the fourth one?
I see?
The first 3, I'm assuming, were the
are the first 3 games.
Okay.
North Carolina, BYU, and Idaho State. And then...
Hey, be careful. That Idaho State might be a trap game for them.
Sure.
That's sarcasm, by the way.
Yeah. I know.
You got it. I just don't want someone out there to be like seriously thinking I'm like Sean Anderson saying Florida Atlantic's going to beat Oklahoma week 1.
Oregon State is a win. There's 4. I'll give Cal the Colorado game. There's 5. They were 5-7 last year. I've got to believe that they're winning one of the games out of Oregon, UCLA, Washington State, or Arizona. That they would win one of those, and which would then give them 6. So I would say that they're looking at 6 wins this season.
I'm kind of on the same page as you, and what I'm looking at is the first 3 yet again. North Carolina, BYU, Idaho State, win, win, win. You're 3-0 to start the year. Your 4th for sure win is at Oregon State. Congratulations, your 4 wins on the year. The rest of the games that I could see winning are toss-ups and could go either way. I have Oregon as one of those games. I have UCLA as one of those games. Washington State is one of those games. And Colorado is one of those games. Any of those 4 games, pick and choose. If you win one of them, all right, you're a 5-win team. If you win 2 of them, okay, you're a 6-win team. If you win 3, you're a 4. If you win 3, you're 4. If you win 4, then you guys get the point. You guys can do math. But for me, I figure...
Not always. I can't always.
I figure, yeah, like your Saints video.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you messed that up.
No, I know exactly what it was. When we were talking before the video, you said Steelers were going to beat the Saints, but then when you recorded the video, you said Saints with the win.
No way. Mm-hmm. Did I?
So you were originally, when we talked, and because I remember, this is sidetracked, but it's important, because I went through my Saints record with you. You remember that, right?
Yes.
And we got to the Steeler game, and before you recorded, you said the Steelers were going to win that game. But when you recorded, you said the Saints were going to beat the Steelers. So that's what threw you off.
Technology throws you off when I was trying to pick. Yeah, whatever.
That was a great video, too, because you made fun of, oh, we make it easy, and you screwed it up, which made it even better.
Even better. I look like even more of an idiot like I probably look now. But, Ricky, take us out.
But basically, the last thing I was going to say is I see 5 through, the last 4? So 5 through 8. Is all dependent on what you do against either Oregon, UCLA, Washington State, or Colorado. But this is where you guys come in.
And I was going to say, final thing, I do see the Cal Golden Bears looking better than they were last year. I see them making some improvements.
You say take us out.
Well, take us out, Ricky. Come on.
This is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below in the comment section. What do you think for Cal this year? Will they be improved last year? Will they be a 5-7 team? Or will they be less than 5 wins and maybe to be a 3-4 win team? Let's be honest. 4 for sure wins, unless they lose to like a North Carolina, but I don't see that happening. Let us know what you guys think down below in that comment section.